So welcome to part 5 of this mini-series, and again we're looking at the Moore paper on leisure time physical activity and mortality, and we also have open our review example sheet right here, and we have previously gone through abstract introduction, discussion methods, and also results. And recall that at this point you could be done, I would be done typically with a paper, but I do encourage you as you start out with a new topic to take your time now and after the results section to go back and revisit the introductory and also the discussion paragraphs just briefly to get to the points of why they had a rationale for this study, and then in the discussion and in their interpretation of the results and into a context of how the authors fit their results into the bigger picture of the field as it currently stands. So for this, if you take a look at the example review, we've gone through abstract, the introductory last paragraph, first paragraph of the discussion, brief methodology. We've gone through some detailed results, table by table, figure by figure. And we're really on now to the revisit of the introduction and of the discussion. So if we jump to the paper and we take a look at the introduction, you'll see that the introduction is just these 3 paragraphs here. We've already read the last paragraph, but revisit this and give this a quick read. Okay, done that. So if we take a look at the worksheet, then describe the motivations for this study and why would the authors devote the resources they have to this project in the first place. So here is my take. Physical activity levels have been declining in developed and developing nations, and this could be related to a reduction in life expectancy. This is difficult to fully quantify because of different ways that physical activity is quantified, and many epidemiology studies have examined the relationship between physical activity and mortality risk, highlighting a 30% reduction in risk, but little evidence exists across different levels of physical activity in large and diverse samples. So that's their motivation for the study. And then describe important pieces of relevant background information that this study is attempting to build upon. Well, my take was that it's examining different levels and different types of physical activity and their relationship with life expectancy. And furthermore, it's examining these relationships in concert with different body mass index levels. So that's really a revisit of the introduction. If we now take a look and revisit the discussion, we would be jumping to the end of the paper, walking through that, and it would start here. And then if you go ahead and spend a couple of minutes just revisiting the discussion. Okay, done that. So then answer these questions. For one or two of the main findings presented in this discussion, describe the interpretation the authors provide for those conclusions. So the authors did find what we classify as a dose-response relationship between higher levels of physical activity being associated with a lower risk of death and more years of life expectancy gained. Results further confirmed and extended other previous findings, but extending now to a larger, more diverse sample. And results extended to show that the impact of physical activity on mortality risk and life expectancy is not impacted by gender, but maybe somewhat by race, ethnicity, and also different relationships for those with different comorbidities exist. Also, results presented for combined physical activity and body mass index. Low physical activity is impactful to years lost, irrespective to your body mass index. Describe 1 to 2 important implications or applications of the study findings. In other words, how might this information be used? Well, my take on that is that findings highlight the importance of physical activity even at half the minimum recommendations of what levels we should be doing. Findings clearly should propel public health agencies to increase programming in an attempt to increase community levels of activity because we know it can improve life expectancy. Okay. One of the other thing I think sometimes which is helpful is if you're able to prepare an elevator speech from a paper that you've just read, and that is what is a 2 to 3 sentence summary of the main findings, clear, concise, non-dull manner. People sometimes call this an elevator speech or a party test. So this would be your opportunity to practice educating others about the findings of the article, and take care not to overgeneralize or go beyond what the evidence suggests. Okay, and if you include a statistic in this, that would be fantastic. So here's my take. The level of physical activity in adulthood is related to how long a person will live. The more active you are as an adult, the greater the number of years added to your life. For instance, if you go from doing no moderate to vigorous activity to doing just half of what is recommended, and that's 75 minutes a week of brisk walking, you can decrease your risk of death by 19% and live an extra 1.8 years. Note, that's from Table 3. These relationships hold true regardless of your gender, education, race, or ethnicity. And if you have underlying health problems, such as you already have heart disease or cancer, the importance of physical activity on life expectancy could even be greater. The impact that physical activity level has on life expectancy is not impacted by your obesity levels. In other words, you will receive benefit whether you are normal weight, overweight, or obese, but greater benefits would be seen if you are normal weight. That would be my elevator speech from this particular research article. So, as we navigate the papers that we read, this I'm going to give to you as a blank outline of how to work through your articles, and it's going to include for you to respond to these questions. Again, just follow along in a way that I have done for this particular example, and we'll build upon this week by week when these are due, and we can use this then as the basis of critiquing or gaining information from the articles that we read. Now, that said, I do understand that this is actually a pretty lengthy approach to categorizing the evidence that you read, and this is just a way to start. In the next section on this mini-series of this short video sequence, we're going to take this way of navigating the scientific literature and answering these questions and break this down even further into something what we call a literature matrix on a specific topic.